First launch control in this car, I'm a bit worried. Heart is pounding. Let's build the boost. Oh my days. Raise the RPM. Oh, that was good. The initial punch of that. Hey guys, it's Luke here and welcome back to another video. You join me today with my A45S for a really fun and exciting video for you today. Now, as you guys will have been aware, this car has been up until fairly recently down at EST Performance. It was there for about a month to have arguably one of the most important things done to the car, and that is the gearbox TCU unlock and remap. Now this has completely transformed the car. I'm sure you've seen the first drive video of that when I picked the car up, my first impressions and everything. If you haven't seen that, then go check it out on the channel. But today I'm actually going to be highlighting and kind of documenting something that did subsequently happen from the guys at EST having the car for the TCU map and development, because this car is now officially the UK's fastest example at the time of me recording this video, because to be honest, in not too long at all, this car is going back to EST for more power, so stay tuned for that. But yes, it's all very exciting. I have currently at least the UK's fastest A45S, but we've still got more room to push that, believe me. So basically today we're going to go out in the car. I've got my VBOX Performance Box Touch, which you've seen me use a ton of times before. Basically we're just going to have a bit of fun, do some launch controls and get some times, just so that I can showcase that to you rather than just listing the numbers they recorded when having the car for development. So to bring you guys up to speed on basically what the car is currently running at the moment, and then also what we're planning to do in the near future. This car is still running what is basically a standard stage 2 package. And what I mean by standard is that was actually developed when the TCU was locked. Now what I'm doing very soon when I take the car back to EST is basically having a retune of that stage 2. Now that we have the TCU map in place and it's actually been developed on this very car, which is very exciting, we're then going to be pushing the numbers and seeing what we can get out of it. So that's what I mean by a standard stage 2, because it was done when the TCU was still locked and you couldn't map into it, you couldn't communicate with it, and hence why it's really, I mean, now at least, not pushing its full potential, because now we can crank things up to 11 thanks to the TCU. So in terms of numbers then, it is actually running 499.5 brake horsepower. We're going to round it up to 500, just make it 500. Now before, when this car was mapped, obviously when the TCU was locked, we did cap the torque at I think 580 Newton meters. It's now running 650, which is pretty crazy thanks to the unlock of the TCU. Naturally, it just made the car flow a little bit easier, and when the torque limits weren't in place, it was then reaching the torque that it wanted to make when that map was created. So 500 brake and 650 Newton meters at the moment. In terms of supporting mods, we have the eVenturi carbon fiber cold air intake and also the Cobra Sport Euro 6 compliant sports cat. That is the only hardware that we have in place, stock charge coolers, everything like that. And so to be fair, for a downpipe, an intake and a custom tune, that is pretty good power. Apart from that, we do have a Cobra Sport catback as well that is valved and resonated in there. But other than that, really, that is pretty much it on the car, aside from some lowering springs and some aesthetic bits and bobs here and there. So not really much has been done in terms of hardware to get where we are. Standard fuel pumps, obviously standard engine, standard turbo as well. Now that is something which we are soon to be maximizing, that turbo in there. So yeah, we're going to see what we can get out of it kind of as it sits with the standard turbo. And yes, of course, we are going to be maximizing that and of course upgrading that as well. Now, as I mentioned, what is really exciting about this specific car is this has been the development car for the EST TCU software package. I am currently basically testing from the beta stages. The guys had it there for about a month to basically get it where they wanted it, do loads of dyno tests and various pulls and things to basically see where it's at. But they wanted to give the car back to me to do a few things. I did the track day recently, and of course, now we're going to do some launch controls today. But I know a lot of you guys are eager to get your hands on the TCU tune. Now, thankfully, we're not too far away from actually having it out there for you guys to purchase. There is a waiting list, and I will leave EST's details all in the description for you guys to get on that waiting list if you are interested, if you're not already on the waiting list, that is. But going into 2024, I think this video might be going up in 2024 actually, we are really not too far away. In fact, when you watch this video, this car will be back at EST for the final testing and mapping, ready for this to be out there in the open. Now, in terms of times, before we do actually get in the car and get cracking, now when this car was, well, running the same power as what it is now, 500, but with the locked TCU, I did take the car to Santa Pod and I did get some times. 7.67, 100 to 200. That was on a fairly hot day, actually, to be honest with you, and obviously on a prep surface like Santa Pod. So heat soak was a bit of a problem. Of course, cooling mods, that's another thing which I really need to try and get sorted on this because it does get very hot. However, what the guys have got already on a damp day was 7.24. Now, that is pretty incredible. I'm not actually able to get anything in terms of 100s to 200s today. However, we are going to be doing some launch controls, see if we can get some 0 to 60s, because I have done a mid 3 seconds, I think, before the TCU was done. So hopefully we'll get a low 3 second. But I know that that 7.24 does categorically make this car the UK's fastest, which is very exciting, and very soon I will aim to get some more scores on the doors. However, I think what we do need to do at this stage, get the bonnet down and get this thing fired up, get it up to temperature, get all the GoPro set up and go and basically have a bit of fun, take it for a bit of a spirited drive, get some launch controls and ultimately see what kind of numbers we can get with the VBOX in place, all powered up and ready to go. Let's get it fired up. Not quite up to temperature, so we'll leave it idling a little while. But in the meantime, you can see up here we have the Performance Box Touch all up and running. See, last time I used it was actually at Donington GP. You guys should have seen that video already. What did I manage on that actually? I think it was a 2 minutes 2, although it was a very wet day. Anyway, let me show you what you can do on this basically. So in today's video, we're obviously going to be testing acceleration, so we'll get to that in a minute. You can also measure deceleration, so the braking power, lap timing, which we were obviously just on, automatically the satellite, which you actually stick on the outside the car, will basically recognize when you're at a racetrack, and then you can automatically get started. Or you can also just do live speed on there, which is obviously satellite based. But acceleration, of course, we can get loads of different testings here. In fact, the last time I used this was actually for the quarter miles at Santa Pod. But yeah, you can see different testings here. You can see VMAX, so you can see what your trap speed is, your G-force, 100 to 200 mile an hour. That is, I think, 1/8 of a mile. That is 1/4 of a mile. There we go. You can see here. Yeah, 100 to 200, 7.64, 0 to 60, 3.29. That was what we got when before this car went to EST for the TCU. So that is essentially what we're at to beat. And there we go, 0 to 60. Perfect. Right, this thing is actually conveniently now up to temperature. And actually, before it does actually get too hot, we're going to get straight on, because heat is a big problem in this car. Now, I haven't actually done a launch control in this car yet since the TCU, so to be honest, I'm a little bit apprehensive because I know how much quicker this car is. Once we've got some times, before obviously the car gets too hot, where the times start shaving away, we will go for a nice spin. If you didn't see the first drive, it was honestly, it's so quick now. In fact, we'll give it a little bit of a... It's unbelievably fast, it really is. But yeah, gearbox 61 degrees, so that's fine. Our all temp is 73. Annoyingly, I still have this little problem here. I think it's maybe a sensor which tells that emblem to either stay on or not. It says the engine is cold, but it is not. So very bizarre. Not sure why that is. Get a little bit of heat in the tyres anyway. It does get a little bit squirrely now, actually. It's one thing I've noticed. In fact, we will just come to a stop just here. ESP is off, we're in race mode. When we do come to a stop, I will reset that and we'll get cracking. First launch control in this car. I'm a bit worried. Heart is pounding. Let's build the boost. Oh my That is outrageous. That is outrageously fast. I think the tyres are still a little bit cold though, because it's spinning a little bit. That was a 3.43. It really gets the tummy going, honestly. It's just like... For the next one, I might actually try this with traction in sport. So not fully off, because I think, well, it is a fairly cold day. It is threatening to rain, which is a little bit annoying. So we'll leave traction in sport, so not fully off for now. And I'll tell you what, this is nice and level. Safe to obviously stop. Same again. It just punches through the gears. That was a 3.38 that time. So a little bit quicker, but still not the best that we've got so far. Tyres are only like 15 degrees, fronts are 22 and 23. They've got a little bit of temp in them. I'll try this ESP off this time again. Hard on the brake. Raise the RPM. Oh, that was good. The initial punch of that. Oh dear, even though I think the ground is just a little bit greasy, we're not getting the figures that I quite want right now, but mind you, that is 4 back to back. Wow. Annoyingly though, it's been threatening to rain all day, and I think there's just, as you can see in areas in front, there's just a little bit too much moisture on the ground for us to get some proper real figures for you guys, really, which is annoying. I think as soon as Santapod reopens, I need to get myself up there as soon as I can, because those last times were done at Santapod, so I need to replicate that same surface, obviously fully prepped, not a dirty country road like this. And tell you what, we'll give it one last go and see what we can get anyway. I'm going to come to a stop. Traction will leave it off. Raise the RPM. Oh, there we go, that was better. 3.19. It's still, actually that's not bad actually. That's not bad at all. 3.19. But yeah, I think the biggest issue with this car is the temps. Like, I've had to spread this shoot out today so much so I can actually get the best times I can, but I need to get myself back to Santapod. I need to obviously then be in the same environment to get some 100 to 200s as well. But yeah, I mean, we've seen proof already that we're like half a second down, half a second down is in quicker than before the TCU tune, which is amazing. But even just the general drivability of the car, it is absolutely incredible how well this car drives. The improvements have honestly made so much difference. And yeah, to be honest, it's an absolute joy to drive. It really is. Obviously, as I said, there is still movement with what we can do in terms of then putting the power into it, because we have not touched the original Stage 2 tune at all. All we've done is just obviously opened up the TCU, been able to then play with the limits and the shift speeds and everything like that. But the torque naturally is just making more, purely because those limits are not there anymore, so the car can make more torque, what it wanted to do with Stage 2 anyway. So we're still running 500, but now obviously we can now push the torque more because the gearbox can now allow it. And so yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see what we can really get out of the car, and hopefully we can actually dip into the 2s. I think in the current setup, this car will dip into the 2s on a prep surface like Santapod on the 0 to 60, and maybe into the 6s, 100 to 200 as well, because we're what, 7.2 at the moment is where we're at, which is blisteringly fast, to be honest. And if we can get it into the 6s and also into the 10s quarter mile, because I did run an 11.18 at Santapod. This is 100% a 10-second car now. Now, even though we have done quite a lot with the car already, there's still so much more I want to do to this. Of course, we need to maximize the stock turbo, so we're going to be adding some meth. and then obviously upgrading the turbo, seeing what we can get out of it. And yeah, it is just all very exciting. But yeah, this car is officially the UK's fastest A45S, at least at the time of me recording this video. Now that the TCU is out there, I suppose you could say. Mine's obviously been the one that's been developed. There is a few stage 3 cars in the UK that already have upgraded turbos, so I'm sure once this same software is then released to them, and not in the development phase like my car is, then I'm sure that I'll get pipped to the post. But at least at the moment, stock turbo is faster than what is a hybrid turbo car, purely because of the gearbox. Yeah, no, it's mega fun, really, really is. And I think what we'll do before we wrap up the video is we'll have some fun down some back roads, because why not? Find me a reason why I shouldn't. I mean, look at this. I've got it in the live speed mode now on the VBOX, and you can just see how quickly the speed climbs. Third gear. Oh, it's epic fun, epic fun. I need to get this thing back on track, back to Santa Pod, and I think over to Germany at some point. That definitely needs to happen this year in 2024. But at least in the UK at the moment, we are at the top spot, at least for the 100 to 200, which is really exciting. It's why I'm really keen to get back to Santa Pod, so that I can actually see what we can get a proper 0 to 60 on a launch on a prep surface as well. That's why I'm thinking it might actually dip into the 2s, which could be very, very interesting. From me today though, that is going to wrap it up. I'm really enjoying things with this car at the moment, and as I said at the beginning of the video, very soon actually, in fact by the time this video goes up, the car will be back at EST for further development and see what we can get out of this car power wise, with now the unlocked gearbox, which is really exciting. So keep your eyes peeled for that. As I said, if you want to get on the waiting list for the TCU package, I suppose we could say, from EST using my car's development, then you can find all of their contact details down in the description. There is a fair chunk of people actually on that waiting list, which is very exciting. So yeah, if you want to get on that, don't miss out. Also, another thing to note, if you want to learn more about the VBOX Performance Box Touch, you've seen me use it a ton of times before. If you want to learn more about that, I'll leave the details below as well. Awesome bit of timing gear for something like this, or if you want to keep an eye on what you're doing on track as well. But yeah, that is it. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please make sure you leave a like and make sure to subscribe for all the adventures still to come.